Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Night Shift Podcast. A podcast where we discuss anything true and scary, dark and creepy, serial killers, horror movies, ghost stories. And today's video is going to be part one of the paranormal history of Bay City, Michigan, the town where Scruffy and Lynx and I are from. But before we get into that, we've been absent lately on the channel, and that's because, Scruffy and Lynx has been going to college, but he's going to end that soon. And I've been busy with stuff, but we're back, and we're going to start posting once a week, and continue the channel, continue doing this podcast, continue exploring abandoned places, and continue to do our show Supernatural Skeptics, where as skeptics, we investigate the paranormal. But we both came from the city of Bay City, and it has lots of historical history, like really cool, unique, fun little facts and stuff, but also has lots of dark paranormal history. And there's lots and lots of paranormal haunted places here in Bay City. I couldn't fit them all into one video, so this is part one. Let's start off with what, in my opinion, is the scariest one. The Visitation Church. It's actually, the full name is Our Lady of Visitation. This is a church where Madonna went to as a child, and her parents got married here, and it sits abandoned now. It's been abandoned for about 5-6 years. And when it became abandoned, all power was cut off to the church. But for some reason, the bell at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., even though there's no power, even though there's nothing connected to the bell to have it ring at a certain time, at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., it still rang. And it freaked out the people living around it. They're like, why is that bell ringing? That place has no power. There's no one in there ringing the bell. It's abandoned. It's falling apart. Why is it still ringing? Well, it freaked out the people around there so much that they actually removed the bell. Now, that's not the creepy part of the paranormal history of Visitation Church. There's a legend from Visitation Church that in the basement, it's only been spotted like 10 times over the past 20 years. But supposedly, you can go down in the basement, and you can walk around, and you'll see a severed hand on the floor. You'll look away, look back, blink, adjust your glasses, and all of a sudden it's gone. Like I said, it's only been spotted 10 times in over 20 years, so it rarely ever shows. But sometimes it's just a normal severed hand, sometimes it's a bloody up, severed, cut up hand, and multiple people have seen it, different types of people, not just crazy people that are like, oh, of course you'll hear that from them, but respectable judges, or a respectable judge has seen this hand, and he swears up and down he can't explain what he saw. But that's the creepiest one in Bay City to me, because how did someone lose their hand? And why is it severed there laying on the floor? Does it ever crawl around like on the Addams Family, that one thing that crawls around? No, that would creep me out. And some of these places I know more history than the others. This next place is the Knepp's Department Store. Now, I used to work downstairs at the Knepp's Department Store on the main floor. We owned a frame shop, an art gallery, and an art studio. And I worked in the frame shop. And I never experienced anything paranormal there. But just to show you how scared some people were at this place, some of the teachers claim they've had paranormal events there. Wendy, the assistant manager of the art gallery, refused or tried her best to not be alone when closing at night because she was so scared of this place. And just to show how convinced people were that this place was haunted, that my coworker, he ran the Facebook page for the art gallery, and they took a picture of the display case full of art for Halloween, and they wanted him to edit it and post it on Facebook. Well, he has Photoshop, and he basically put in a black and white image of a little Victorian girl in the image, looking like she's standing in the display case, and posted it on Facebook, to make it creepier, Well, during lunch, the manager and the assistant manager came run over to us, and they're like, see, we told you this place is haunted. Look, there's a girl standing in the display case window that wasn't there when we took the picture. So they were that convinced that this place is haunted. And of course we told them, oh no, that was edited in. But that just goes to show how much people believe this place is haunted. The main floor was businesses. Our business, like I said, was an art gallery, frame shop, and art studio. There was a lawyer's office there. There was a sweet boutique. It was a coffee and chocolate shop, gourmet chocolate shop. Oh, so delicious. I would get my coffee there every day. And then the upstairs was more offices, and it was more apartments for people. You know, upstairs. It was like a 5-story building, and the upstairs was mostly apartments, but a few businesses. And we actually did a video there for our show Supernatural Skeptics, as it was episode 2 at the Nips department store. And we explored the abandoned areas, the businesses areas, and the upstairs apartment areas out in the hallways. It was a good video, kind of creepy, but I never really experienced anything paranormal at this place. Supposedly, one of the teachers saw a bunch of papers fly into the air for no reason. There was no fan or ventilation blowing them around. So I don't know. The basement was always really creepy, because during the summer we would spray paint our frames. If we needed to spray paint them black, we'd spray paint them outside. The wind would blow away the fumes and you didn't have to worry about breathing in the spray paint. But during the winter you couldn't do that because it's cold out and the snow's everywhere. So we would get a gas mask, put it on, go downstairs, and spray paint the frames. Well, downstairs is where they stored all the mannequins for the art gallery, in case someone made clothes or jewelry out of art supplies, you know. And I was always afraid that I would look over and I see a mannequin turn its head and look over at me. But thankfully that never happened. And I guess you could say there's one slight, it could have been paranormal event that happened at the Neps department store. And that was that we kept our black mats for the matting and framing in a special area because they were rare to find. We lived off donations, this frame shop. So all the mats were donated, all the frames were donated, all the glass was donated. So yeah, so anyways, our mats that were black were rare to find, and you could scuff them up easily and leave a mark, leave a scratch on them real easily because they're black and they show anything. So we kept them in a special slot where they couldn't get damaged and they were easy to find. And one day, my coworker was like, "Hey, Dorian, why did you move the black mats over to buy the paper cutter and the mat cutter?" I go, "I didn't." And we couldn't figure out why they wound up there, because me and my coworker were the only ones allowed in the frame shop. The only time we had other people in the frame shop was other artists or people wanting to get their stuff framed. And then 2 weeks, same thing happened again. He's like, "Dorian, did you move the black mats over to the paper cutter again?" I go, "No, I didn't." So we can't figure out why the black mats moved there, but maybe that was paranormal. You know me, I don't believe in ghosts. I want to believe in ghosts. I want to fucking see a ghost. I want to have a paranormal experience, but I don't believe in them. And why would a ghost care about our black mats? It just doesn't really make sense. But supposedly there's one ghost that haunts the whole place, and that is a 50-year-old man who passed away in one of the apartments upstairs. And he haunts the whole building, the upstairs, the downstairs, the basement. There's also a fallout shelter underneath that whole entire building. I do not know if he haunts the fallout shelter, but the rest of the building, abandoned or whatever, he haunts. Now, there are 3 famous haunted spots in Bay City. One's the Edson Ship, one's the Antique Store, which we'll get to, but the other one is the State Theater, which was designed to look like an Aztec theater, based off of another theater that's abandoned in Detroit. So it has a really cool Aztec, intricate look to it, very detailed, very neat looking. And supposedly, the former manager of this State Theater, and this is what it used to look like when it opened up, but this is what it looks like now. Supposedly, the manager of the theater still haunts the whole entire theater. You can hear him walk around on stage at night, even though there's no one there. He supposedly goes to the women's bathrooms a lot, so I don't know if he was a perv or if he just likes scaring women. And supposedly he wanders the halls there too. But the main thing is, people usually, the most that people have experienced of a common story is that they'll be sitting in theater and they hear someone walking on stage and there's no one there. The next building is across the street from the State Theater and used to be the Regent Theater, which was the first theater in Bay City. Not the State Theater. The State Theater was the second theater. The Regent Theater was the first theater. The Regent Theater is no longer there. It's all businesses. But it's cool, though, because if you ask one of the businesses to go downstairs, you can still see the old makeup and dressing rooms for the actors in this theater are still in the basement with the signs on the door and everything. And you can still see part of the orchestra pit. You can still see part of the original theater in the basement where all the seats were and where the stage was. So it's really cool, really historical. But the theater is no longer there. It's now the Davidson building. And that's known to be haunted. I've been in all these buildings, but I've been in the Davidson building. Never experienced anything there myself. But I saw this video on YouTube. Look it up. It's on the channel Through These Four Eyes. And he searches through the Regent Theater basement. And he goes upstairs to the Regent flower shop owner. There's a flower shop that's there called Regent Flower Shop, which is located in the Davidson building. He asked him, hey, while I was downstairs walking around filming it, I felt like someone was watching me. Is this place haunted? And the owner of the flower store said, and look it up yourself, but he said, I can't say for sure that this place is haunted, but sometimes when I'm here alone, I hear footsteps in the hallway, and sometimes when I'm here alone, I hear talking where there shouldn't be any talking. So he couldn't say for sure that he believes it's haunted, but he has had some creepy experiences inside this Davidson building. Okay, the next one is the Antique Center, the Bay Antique Center. It's the second or first largest antique store in America. It takes up a whole city block. It has 2 basements, a main floor, and an upstairs. It's the upstairs that's supposedly haunted. And I'll go through other people's experiences there. And it's so haunted that it made the cover of the Bay City Haunted Michigan book. But after I talk about everybody else's experiences there, I will talk about my own personal haunted experience there that I can't explain away. I mean, I don't know, it was freaky. But I have a friend who claims she was walking around upstairs and she was the only one up there. It's pretty open upstairs. It's not divided by walls or anything. It has a few high shelves and display cases, but you can pretty much tell when you're the only one up there because it's a pretty big open room. And she was up there and she claims that she heard someone say, "Let's go get her," when she was the only one up there. Also, according to the Bay City Haunted book, there was an old man who collects war veteran military paraphernalia. And he was looking at these military hats upstairs in a display case. And he was with his wife, and she was around the other corner of the display case. And he heard a woman whisper in his ear, "Are you going to buy that hat?" And he looked around and his wife wasn't there. And he walked around the display case, found his wife, and he goes, "Did you just talk to me?" She goes, "No, I was looking at these dolls over here. I wasn't talking to you at all." And then the third documented paranormal event that happened to someone. This one's kind of cliche, so I highly doubt if it's true or not. Usually with ghost stories, you can find out if one's true or not, depending on how cliche or Hollywood filmish they feel. But supposedly someone was walking around upstairs, and they saw a mist form, and it turned into a lady in a black and purple Victorian dress, and she walked towards them and slowly disappeared. And this place, before it was an antique store, was an old 1800s hotel. It was the Campbell Hotel. And it turned into like a hardware store after the hotel went abandoned for a couple years in the 1900s. And then in the 1990s, it turned into the antique store, and it's been the antique store ever since. Now, Scruffy Lynx and I filmed our first episode of Supernatural Skeptics at this store. And we didn't include this in the video, but we asked several of the workers if they had any experiences there ghost-wise, and they all said no. Even one lady was like, I, for 20 years, was the one who shut down the store at night. I turned off all the lights on all 3 levels, the basement, the main floor, and the upstairs. And I said there's 2 basements, but it's not like a basement and a sub-basement. It's just a basement divided by a wall, so there's 2 sections. But she said, I even turn off the lights at night, and I never experienced anything, so who knows. But I had an experience in the upstairs of the antique store. And the upstairs of the antique store is usually empty. The main floor is where most people stay and shop at. The basements are usually empty, and the upstairs is usually empty, but sometimes you get 1 or 2 other people up there. And the upstairs is very creepy. It's a very old Victorian building, so it has that old Victorian touch to it, and it has all these old antiques. And it has a high ceiling with decorated tiles on it. And it has one room that's completely stacked full of doors, just abandoned doors that they took from hundreds of places. There's literally hundreds of doors just laying out up against each other like dominoes in several of the rooms, and it's just creepy. But this wasn't for YouTube. I just went up there to ghost hunt, I guess, on my own. I didn't have any equipment with me, which now we have quite a bit of equipment for Supernatural Skeptics that you'll see in episode 3. That we're going to continue to use. But anyways, I was just like, oh, do my own little independent investigation. So I walked up to these wooden candle holders on a display case. I'm like, if there's a ghost here, make these move. And I sat and I stood there for 30 seconds, and the candle holders never moved. By that point, an old man walked upstairs and was checking out stuff along with me. I eventually moved over to where this photo was taken. This photo's upstairs. And this is by the entrance where you lead downstairs into the main floor. The old man was far away, so he couldn't hear me talking. But then I looked at this pink teddy bear on this chair that was next to the glass display case you see here. And I said, if there's any ghosts here, make this teddy bear fall off the chair. And I said it just loud enough for the supposed ghosts to hear me, but not loud enough so I wasn't like yelling it so the old man couldn't hear me. I didn't want him to think, oh, this kook's ghost hunting. But I stared at the teddy bear for 30 seconds. Nothing happened. The teddy bear didn't fall. Like, there's no fucking ghosts here. So I walked around. I was just enjoying the antique look of the building. And I was checking out some of the antiques in the upstairs area. I'm getting ready to leave the upstairs, and I walk past where that teddy bear was on that chair, and that teddy bear is now on the ground. That freaked me out. So I walked up to the teddy bear, and I picked it up, because sometimes I can't trust my own mind, and I squeezed it with my hands. I flicked its little marble eyes, and I set it back on the chair. I'm like, yeah, that teddy bear was definitely on the ground. So my only explanation is maybe while I was walking around, the old man bumped into the teddy bear while he was walking around, and since he was old and had a cane, he didn't bend over to pick it up, he just left it on the ground. Or maybe it was a ghost, I don't know. Okay, this next one is called Skull Island. And there's a reason why it's called Skull Island. It's no longer an island. They built a land bridge to it, but it used to be island where Native Americans did lots of like hiding beavers and working with fur and stuff. But there's a huge battle in the 1500s between the Sauk tribe and the Chippewa tribe, and around 400 to 500 people died in that battle. It took a couple days, and they took a lot of their skulls and buried them in memorial burial pits. Like mass graves almost, kind of, but in a ritualistic way. And they left their skulls there until the 70s, we rediscovered the island, and people started digging up where these mounds were and finding all these skulls. So that's why it's called Skull Island. Now, there's a YouTube video by Bay City History Explorers, I think is what they're called, and they go to Skull Island during the day and during the night, and they swear up and down that it's haunted. They even mentioned me, or messaged me on Messenger, because they're from Bay City, I know them. And they're like, yeah, we heard noises at night we couldn't explain. We heard like Indian war cries and all sorts of stuff. But this place was literally a battleground where hundreds of people died. There was literally trickling streams of blood leading out into the river. Now, like I said, it's no longer an island. It's a land. There's a land bridge that's built to it, so it's a peninsula now. But next to Skull Island is the Dogman Woods. And that's also next to the Alkali, which we filmed. It's not haunted, but it's an abandoned concrete ruin of a building that's really cool. Supposedly, Bay City has woods. Well, we've been there. We haven't filmed it for YouTube yet. We're going to. But supposedly there's these woods where a Dogman cryptid runs around. And we went there before and we looked for signs of the Dogman. Like sightings of a Dogman, see if we could find them. Paw prints in the ground, or even a nest that he made, or feces that he could have left behind. We found nothing. But there's this photo, supposedly the Dogman. I'll show it now. Yeah, see that circle around? See, that's supposedly the Dogman, but I don't really see anything there. It looks like a log, or a rock or something. But the Dogman supposedly is a werewolf-looking man. He has a dog's body, but also a human body covered in fur. Dog's paws on all of his 4 hands and feet, or well, 2 hands and 2 feet. And he has a dog's head with glowing yellow or sometimes glowing red eyes. He's been the inspiration for multiple books, a famous song, and multiple movies. And so supposedly he wanders the woods, even though when we tried finding evidence of him, we couldn't find anything. Okay. The next one is the 3rd Street Dock, and we did a night shift podcast of this, but it was a video edition. It was us in there with a camera exploring this dock. Go check that out. But anyways, it's where Fabian Joe Fournier was beaten to death and where he died. And that guy became the inspiration for Paul Bunyan, the legend Paul Bunyan. And if you want to hear more about this, go check out our night shift video. It's like our 3rd or 4th video that we did about his murder there on the dock while we were at the dock filming it. But supposedly, his ghost wanders that dock at night. And I've been to that dock at night before I even knew it was haunted. And I didn't experience anything there, but there's been reports of, you can see a tall man walking around with his head bludgeoned, like he's got a huge chunk of his head missing. Which, that's how he was murdered. He was beaten to death with a hammer. And he was beaten in the head. And they actually used his skull in evidence during the trial. And some people claim you can hear a man screaming down in this dock at night. And this dock's right in downtown. There's apartments on one side and a candy store on the other side. So, why you would hear screaming, I don't know. But maybe it's really him. And the last haunted spot for today's video is the Masonic Temple of Bay City. Now, I don't know too much about this. It's a very historical building. The red brick part of the building was the original building. Then they added on a huge section to it when they needed more room and more space. But this is where a lot of Mason stuff went down. And there's lots of symbols in the building that some people attribute to the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye that's on the side of the building. There's lots of really weird historical artifacts there and symbols on the walls and stuff. It's a cool historical building, but people just don't claim it's haunted. They say because there's the Masonic and Illuminati stuff there, they claim that some rooms house demons because the whole conspiracy theory that I think is bullshit, that Satan runs the New World Order and the Illuminati and demons are going to take over the government and stuff, and that the Illuminati and the Masonic or the Freemasons were all part of that. But that's part of the paranormal rumors, is that there's demons trapped in certain rooms of this building. But there's also ghosts, and they wander the auditorium hall a lot. There's several secret passageways in this building. They supposedly wander one of those. And this is where the book signing to the Bay City Haunted book was. And this Masonic Temple also holds the largest room in Bay City. But anyways, that's part 1 of the paranormal history of Bay City, Michigan. We will be posting every week from now on. Like I said, it'll be Urbexing or Supernatural Skeptics, or the Night Shift podcast. So thank you all for listening, and you all have a good night.